Hi, all. I'm Catalina, co-founder and CEO of LoanSense, and I'm here with Wilson. I'm going to have him introduce himself. This segment, I'm going to have him introduce himself in a second. We're just going to really talk about what Wilson's doing that's super innovative in the space for recent grads from nurse practitioner and physician assistant school, and the results he's getting with building like a community as well as really referring people to other products and services that will change their life. He's a big partner of LoanSense, so we're going to talk a little bit about what he's doing and what are the results some of his clients experience. So Wilson, please tell us about yourself and about APPFinanceClinic.
Perfect. No, happy to be here. So my name is Wilson. I'm actually a practicing physician assistant. And I practice in oncology, but I also happen to have a really big interest in both education and finances. So at least the way I describe the company, APP Finance. So APP is a broader term for nurse practitioners and physician assistants, and that's my target audience. Since I work in academia, I've noticed there is this huge gap when it comes to financial literacy. Anything about finances, student loans, contracts, investing, savings, all those things. None of this was taught to us. And it's a huge problem. A lot of us come out in our 30s and with no financial literacy at all. And, we make good money, but, I've noticed a lot of us weren't doing well, right, in terms of finances. So I wanted to really create a company where, in a hub essentially, where for all new graduates, after they graduate, they can come to this centralized resource where I can kind of educate them, teach them kind of the basics of finance, the things they need to know about, and also refer them to vetted resources and recommendations. So it's the best experts. I think that's so much information out there. So I'm just really trying to serve as the centralized place where they can go, get information, and also then connect with other experts that I refer to.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your experience with the key concerns of recent grads coming out. They're earning good money, like you said. They may have a lot of student loan debt. They have other concerns as well, like taking their first jobs after they graduate. So tell us a little bit about the type of key questions and concerns recent grads have after they come out of their programs.
Yes. No, happy to answer that. So I would say, to set kind of some background, most of the graduates I work with are in their late 20s to 30s. And we've been in school most of our lives. So that's all they focused on. They focused on going to school, accumulating debt, not really realizing it. And then when they graduate, they're ready to practice as providers. But the things they have to worry about, just to name them off, is like contract negotiations, advancing in their jobs, student loans, disability and life insurance, and then also starting like just basic financial planning, learning how to invest, how to save, and also buying a house. So I just rattled off a lot of things, but I would say kind of the biggest ones that come up right away, right? Because there's so many financial topics out there, is really figuring out what to do with their student loans and how that affects kind of all the decisions after that. I would say a lot of us graduate with about, average about 150,000 in student loan debt, and I say that as average because it's common. I've seen much higher, 200, 300,000, and they really need a plan to come out afterwards. And even though we're making six figures, right, the average salary for P and MP is six figures, there's still a lot of calculations, a lot of education that needs to happen before making these like life-changing decisions. So I'd say that's the biggest one. A lot of students feel like they're suffocated by their student loans. Even though they have a six-figure income, they feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they feel like they don't have control over their lives or their finances. And that's where we come in.
Yeah, that's amazing. So can you tell a little bit, because I know a lot being part of your forum and seeing the engagement, I see a lot, like, do you think the position that your student loans, the amount of student loan debt you have, as well as the type of job offers you have, and of course, the status of these employers, whether they're nonprofit or not, really have a large bearing, right, on a decision-making point that people need help making? Like, I know we see that a lot. It's like, do I go for a hospital system where I can get some form of loan forgiveness, or do I go to private practice? How often and how big do you see student loans really impacting also those hiring decision, not hiring as much as, what jobs people take?
Yes. So I would say, to be honest, prior to me getting information out there, people didn't think about it. They didn't think about the impact of student loans and the ability to buy a house, student loans and, where you should be working, and student loans and how much you should be investing and saving, right? They didn't really think about that. It's kind of backwards. They usually make those decisions first and then reflect back on the student loans, which is not the best way to do it. But I would say now, at least through our community, because we set them up with the right education, with the right foundation, they understand the importance of student loans and their relationships to the things you talked about, their job, their employer, and also like qualifying for federal forgiveness, things like that. Now it's one of the first things they have to think about before making other life-changing decisions.
That's incredible. I really believe in the work you all are doing because, I have very much I have an education background, and I really believe that the point we can intervene the most in educating people is the point in which they need to make those decisions. And it's actually going to make an impact. Because people always ask us, well, why don't you do borrower education? Like when they take out the loans? And I'm like, because that's not when they're feeling the pain point of taking out too much debt. Right. And so we, as much as it's bad and we'd love to educate ahead of time, it's like, it's kind of the status quo. You take out the debt and then you quote unquote have to figure it out later, right? And that's how we fund our education system, unfortunately. So anyways, Wilson, you have an incredible community of people that I'm sure a lot of lenders, a lot of financial advisors want to get in front of. So tell us a little bit about like why you choose and continue to be one of the, not just the strongest supporters and referrers of our service in your community. But yeah, please tell us why you continue to choose and refer LoanSense to your audience and your community.
Yeah, no, happy to answer that. And this goes for any partner I work with, but particularly LoanSense. I tend to work with partners who are very holistic, right? And they're holistic and they're also educational first. None of my partners, none of the people I work with, especially LoanSense, don't feel like they're pitching something to my audience. They're just educating first, right? And then I think there's so much value in that, just because at least for the students and the graduates I work with, we're used to being taught. So it's nice when you come out of school, everyone's just trying to sell you stuff and they feel pressure to buy. That's not the approach with LoanSense, not with any of the partners I work with. It's educational first, just trying to understand their situation and letting them know all the options and helping them make an informed decision. And that's one thing I really like about LoanSense. They're very upfront about that. They say, here are all the options. There's not just one, cookie cutter answer for everybody. Everyone's situation is unique, but you really should talk to someone and evaluate. And the thing I love the most about your company, Catalina, is you provide the most follow-up. And that's important for me, right? Just because afterwards, they've made a decision or they decided to work with your company and, they're moving on with their careers and lives. There's ongoing service, there's ongoing follow-up because life changes and student loans isn't something that you think about it once and then you're done, right? It requires ongoing follow-up. And you're one of the few companies that actually do that. Help with paperwork, no one does that. And also you just care. I can tell your company cares a lot. I get just positive feedback from my students saying, wow, how fast the response for the emails are. And also how even you reach out, right? To reach out every now and then if something has to get escalated because it gets a little trickier with student loans, but nothing but positive reviews from my graduates.
Amazing. So yeah, thank you so much for that feedback. So if you had any advice, because I know, education really does build trust, right? And I know oftentimes in the world of financial services, we try to think about how do I sell this product or service? And it's more about, oh, well, these consumers are rate shopping. They want the best rate. They want the best whatever. But I think there's also a lot to be said about somebody feeling comforted by getting the best advice. And it's not always just about the rate or the price or the best deal, right? It's about being like, hey, this person actually has my interests at heart here. Yep. So I just want to ask you, because I think you do it extremely well. How do you think education builds trust? And how do you think that actually yields to better results for people in the long term? I'd love to ask that, since I know you're leaning in with that thesis, just like we do.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of value in finding somebody who can make a very complex topic simple, right? Where they can break it down. And it shows that it's somebody who's done the research and understands it well in order to do that. So I think, for us, we try to break down finances, right? It's a scary topic, but we try to water it down and just break it down into the basics just to get them started. I think it's the same for student loans. You do a fantastic job with this behemoth of a topic with all these laws and how it relates to everything, but you're able to break it down into kind of bite-sized pieces in a very just educational, very easy to understand way. And I think there's so much value in that. The graduates love it. Like I said, I think most of us are educators, especially our generation, right? We're still fresh out of school, and just having, like I said, that educational approach first is so important before just, it's not just a number where, oh, this is the price and this is what we can offer. It's just, hey, we have all these resources. We're here to teach you first.
Yeah, thank you for that so much, Wilson. And I say that because we haven't spoken about numbers here, but Wilson literally, when he refers people, 70% of people will convert to buy our service. And it's the highest out of any partner. And the reason I have you here is because I really do believe the community aspect and the trust you build within the community and how you get partners to even engage in the community by posting content in your community is really, like a lot of video content, a lot of different forms of content, is really building trust for people to feel comforted. Like if I actually have student debt and I need this service, or I need a loan, or need to understand how I'm going to close on a house with my student debt. These are all key questions that when Wilson or anybody that has built trust says, hey, this service can help, it's trusted. It's not like, what is this person going to do with me? It's a very trust building approach. And so I really do think you're like leading the way when it comes to really helping people feel comfortable to make a transition to say, yes, I am going to actually buy and pay for a service. So I just want to make sure to share this with my community, because I think sometimes we just, like I said, focus so much on closing transactions that we forget that these are humans with, questions and concerns and aspirations that we really need to kind of let them ask what they need to ask and get and help them where they're at, right? And student debt is definitely helping them where they're at.
Correct. I mean, one thing I wanted to add is, like student loans it's a real problem, right? It's very complex, and I make sure they understand that. Right. We're not creating, this new problem that they didn't realize before. It exists already, and then just showing it to them. Right. I'm showing and educating them about it. And then LoanSense for you guys have the solution. And that's why I think it works really well. It's like, here is the problem, and this is there. Like, it's not going to go away, but these are the things you can do, and these are the people you can work with. And I think that transition works really well, because most people understand, I think, when they come to you, they're like, we know what the problem is, and we know we can't do it ourselves, or we need extra help. And that's why I think, they continue to go to you, and that's why I continue to refer my graduates to your company.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Wilson. I really appreciate your time in providing your feedback and for helping others see that this approach of building community and building content and coming with the desire to help is really important. So thank you so much for your time today.
Of course, happy to be here.